Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. While we wait for everyone to join, you can write your name and affiliation and where you're dialing in from into the chat. Say hello to everyone who is joining us today. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Please write your name in the chat, introduce yourself. I think we can start today's webinar. Today we'll be exploring some key elements of drafting a successful scaling strategy through the lens of the UN Global Pulse Accelerator. My name is Miro Hämäläinen, and I'm the community manager of the UN Scaling Group. If this is your first time joining, the Scaling Group is a thematic community under the UN Innovation Network Community of Practice that focuses on sharing knowledge and insights on scaling innovations, specifically in the UN. And if you haven't signed up yet, you can do so from the link in the chat. I'll just add it here. Yosa, if you could show the next slide. So here's what you can expect from today's session. First, we'll hear about the UN Global Pulse Accelerator, what it is, and how it supports UN-led teams to take their innovative solutions to scale. Following that, you'll hear directly from two very, very inspiring UN innovation teams who actually participated in the accelerator last year and were the two grant recipients of the Scale Catalyst grant. And they're now taking their solutions to scale. You'll hear from Hervé Levitt, who will introduce us to the BioDAF project from FAO, and you'll hear from Alice Gaboulot, who will introduce the SheCan project from WFP. They'll talk about their innovative solutions and how they've developed strategies to bring their solutions to scale. At the end, we'll open the floor for a Q&A session where you'll have the chance to ask anything from how to apply it to the new cohort of the accelerator, about drafting your own scaling strategy, or any insights from the team's experiences in the accelerator, or anything about their solutions. While our speakers present, you can already drop in any questions you may have in the Q&A box. Please prefer the Q&A box so that we can find your questions. So our first speaker of the day is Patricia Lowe. She's the senior analyst on innovation scaling at UN Global Pulse, and she has worked on the UN Global Pulse Accelerator since its first cohorts. And she'll be taking us through some of the strategic thinking that is required to take your innovative solution to the next level. Go ahead, Pat.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're just having a little technical issues with the sound.
I think this is a giveaway. We are sitting in the same room, if anyone's thinking it. We are from the same office. So good morning from Helsinki as well. And thank you to the UN Innovation Scaling Group, and especially to my colleague Mira here, who is the community manager of this group, many of you know, and who has been working to create this space where we can come together to exchange, reflect, and learn from colleagues such as Alice and Hervé, who are working directly hands-on on scaling the innovations on the ground. So we have all ended up here at this webinar because we are like-minded. So I know I am expressing shared views when I say we need to be innovative. We need innovation, especially now. We're facing increasingly complex challenges, which we need to address at the same speed, if not faster, but our resources are dwindling. But I'd like to start by explaining what it means to us at UN Global Pulse when we do talk about innovation and scaling. We see innovation as not as we see innovation being innovative, not just as a tangible solution, as a thing, but it's about the delivery of impact to people and planet through the creation or adaptation of a product, a service, it can be a process or system, as long as it adds new value to addressing an existing problem or leveraging an opportunity to address a problem or responding to an anticipated need. Scaling, meanwhile, is not just about making something bigger or something more. You will note here that it doesn't sound like a concrete endpoint or that is a linear process as well. Rather, we see it as a journey of maximizing the potential impact of the innovation itself and its in its delivery of value. And because scaling takes a long time, maybe give it 10 years, maybe even more, this journey is a multiplayer experience that is shaped by many variables along the way, which Array and Elise can and will illustrate through their presentations as well. So slide, please, Jose. In 2022, some of you might already have heard this, but we looked at innovation practices across the UN system to learn about what opportunities were out there, what were the best practices, any bottlenecks that needed unblocking, so that promising innovations can be scaled to enhance the UN's delivery on its promise to leave no one behind. What we heard was that there was a lot of innovation and innovating going on that need help with crossing the innovation valley of death to scale. But with so much going on, there wasn't enough help or resources to go around for a lot of others working on innovation to get their promising innovations out from the constant piloting cycles. So in response to that, we needed to deepen any current good practices that are already out there, which the scaling group is doing. But we also needed to broaden support for UN colleagues to be able to scale their work. And in parallel, we needed to expand innovation capabilities to take them on. Slide, please. This is where we come in. So the UN Global Pulse Accelerator Program was set up in 2023 with that challenge in mind. It is meant to support promising innovative solutions and turn them into real-world impact at scale. Its evidence-based curriculum helps participants undertake a structured approach to drive the future of their solutions so that they reach more communities through adaptable delivery models and future fit strategies. And I'd like you to kind of just take away what we're saying here about future fit strategies. Slide, please. What happens after the pilot is what we want to help teams with. So I'm going to use this example innovation process here. You've seen the need, you've done the ideation and the prototyping, you've refined and piloted your project in an iterative process, and you get caught up in the day-to-day of delivering it. But then what does it take to actually embed what you've done into how you deliver impact at scale? What happens next after you've piloted once, twice, many times? What's next after that? So for us, we want to say that the starting point is to have a strategy. And you'll see how the UN Global Pulse Accelerator is positioned after the piloting of it, where you're starting to transition to scale and scaling. So the strategy is not just a few bullet points or a vague ambition, but it needs to be a deliberate and a practical approach in a living, breathing document that's written down, that's stress tested and continuously revised and updated. But also crucially, we want to make sure that there's support built around to help that strategy get implemented. Slide, please. So this is the last slide, but this slide will cover briefly how we approach a scaling strategy and the structure. So first, we want to hear what your vision is. What does this innovation want to be, and what does it want to achieve in 10 years? So what is that impact that you have set out to make and to change? Often, it won't involve the same team that had started it, but it shouldn't stop you from envisioning its impact at scale. So now that you have that vision, we move it back to something a little bit more real life, a bit more tangible. So we want colleagues to think about where it needs to be in the next 12 months. So something a bit more achievable. What goals can and do you need to concretely achieve first? And then after that, now that you've got your goal in sight, then comes the other sub-strategies. So scaling strategy as a whole can also and should actually have sub-strategies. So looking at how are you going to get your solution ready for scale? You might have product A, process A, but what else does it need to make it more adaptable or more adoptable, for example, to make it move from context A to context B? Following the solution, we zoom out a little bit more, so moving to the environment around the solution itself. Does the team working on it have the right mix of skills to take it to the next stage? What else does the team need? And then finally, also, how is this organizational buy-in to support its team and the continuity of the work? And then we zoom out a little bit more from that. What ecosystem do you need to have in place or already have in place to support it? Do you have any partnerships that you have and that you will need for the next steps and in the future, in the longer term future? So just kind of summarizing this again, we structure the thinking around having your goal and then thinking about the solution, the people around the solution and the organization around the solution, and then the ecosystem around the entire work as well. And then from there, working through the gaps and assumptions and outlining the steps that you will need to bridge that gap as well, so that you can bridge from what you've got now to your immediate goal and then to your vision. And then once a draft strategy is in place, and because we live in an uncertain world, we also want to make sure it's resilient. So we have also in our previous cohort enlisted our foresight expertise in-house to help with envisioning and also helping draft strategies be more resilient. So that's the summary of how we approach setting up a strategy. And if you'd like, you can also look through the UN Global Pulse scaling primer, which gives you the top 5 questions to ask yourselves or ask any other teams that you are supporting in their scaling journey. And it does involve how I've explained it with solution, team, organization, and also the value network or ecosystem, as we commonly call it as well. So in summary, scaling isn't just a phase. It is very complex. It is a multi-player journey that needs time. So a strategy, from what we've heard from at least previous cohorts, has been really useful in just getting all your thoughts and all your plans out on paper, have it there. It's clear, you can stress test it, you can share it, you can hand it over. But more importantly, in addition to a strategy, we also need to have that structure and the mentoring built around it to help it implement along the way. But I think I will stop here because I think there's no better example than to hear a real live example. So I'm very pleased today as well that we have 2 colleagues that went through cohort 2 with us, and they've gone through the program, they've developed the scaling strategies for their innovations and are now in the thick of implementing them in their own context. So back to Mira.
Thank you, Pat. I hope that gave everyone some food for thought on how to structure a scaling strategy. But like Pat said, we'd really like to hear from someone who is really formulating and working on their strategy to scale in action. So our first speaker from the teams, from the accelerator, is Hervé from FAO. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. My name is Hervé Levitt. I'm working at the climate in a climate team of FAO. It's called Office of Climate, Environment and Biodiversity. And we are especially with Isabel. I don't know if we see my screen from now. Isabel Albinelli, we are working in a team specifically on bioeconomy. So it's a transversal team that, everybody knows the agency FAO in charge of food security, of course, and nutrition. But we have now a big concern about climate for a couple of years because, of course, climate change is a big shock for the economies of the different countries of the South. And this is what we are trying to help on, how to find solutions on climate issues. So in this case, I will talk about a specific project we started 3 years ago, and UN Global Pulse helped us tremendously to have more confidence for the future and to create a kind of reflection on how we can continue this journey of transformation of waste into food security. The project takes place in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast in Africa, and especially in a big city, the economic capital of Abidjan. It's called BioDAF. And what we do on this project is I will show you, we look at this question of waste management, especially organic waste. There's a lot of production in this big city of 6 million inhabitants, probably more than 2.5 thousand tons a day of production. And this waste, in fact, is a big burden for the municipality. They have to manage that, they have to transport, but generally it's not well managed, and it has a lot of footprint, especially gas, of course, methane. It's transformed naturally if you are not transforming it well. And there's in this big capital also, it's a city where people are quite well and rich for a part of the population, but you have a lot of people struggling, especially in the periphery of the city. You have farmers that produce food for the city, and that are poor farmers. Generally, they are coming from neighboring countries. And the problems is the quality of soil. They need to buy a lot of fertilizer. Generally, they buy fertilizer from the market that are chemical fertilizers, and they spend a lot of their income in that. And in the city of Abidjan, you have also a lot of new arrivals, people, probably something like 200,000 people every year that comes, or that are, the demography is huge. So job creation is really a priority for local governments. So this is the context of this small project that was financed by the Innovation Fund of FAO. The innovation, in fact, is something that is new in this country, but is well known for now 20 years probably in different universities of the world. We use an insect called a fly, black soldier fly, which is very interesting because this fly is not dangerous at all for humans, but gives with his larvae the possibility of transformation of the biomass, a very quick transformation, a very efficient transformation in something like a couple of days, 7 to 12 days, you know. You transform vegetables into two products, very interesting for food security, is the proteins that you can give to your chickens or to your fishes, if you have fish. And you have also a frass that is, you know, the residues of the digestion by the larvae. And you have a product that you can incorporate into your soil, and it gives you an excellent fertilizer and also a biostimulant for your plants. Then you produce products for these farmers, these peri-urban farmers that can produce food. So this is the big theory, but in practical, you have to build a small farm, in fact, a small factory, where you take the waste. So generally, and in our case, we went to markets where you have a surplus that are not sold, and you have to treat this waste with small machines, you know, like grinders. It's quite simple, but you have also to give this grinded waste to the larvae, and a few days later you do you take out the larvae, in fact, and you have to dry them if you want to keep them for a while, or you can give them directly to chicken. And this cycle, in fact, this is bioeconomy, circular bioeconomy, is very efficient and very cost effective. But that's the theory. When it takes to implement project on the field, new project as an innovation in this country, it was not so simple. So as you see, we have a very fast conversion of waste. So that's a bigger opportunity. And this material is quasi for free, in fact. And that's a burden for the municipality. But you transform, you create jobs, and you transform to products that are able to feed animals and to give properties of regeneration to your soil, fertility, and also very good capacity of the soil to absorb water, for example. So that's very excellent. And it takes some technology, but quite limited. You need a budget, you need energy, and you need some people. So some photos of the first phase that cost $150,000, financed by FAO, and by another program, I must add that, which is called the Green City Initiative of FAO. So as you see, we were in the center of Abidjan, and we used a place given by the district to make a 1,000 square meter farm, a conversion unit that can produce this larvae for commercialization, and this frass also this fertilizer for farmers. So we transform 2 tons a day to 500 kilo of fertilizer and 200 kilo of protein, and we create 8 jobs. And this is what we've done, but it was not so easy to do, and this is why we needed UN Global Pulse to make a reflection and to take some time to have the lessons of this pilot. So we had a lot of problems during the creation of the farm. We were with a private company, small, very small, but we had to bring electricity. The machines, they were just 3 or 4 machines, but they were made locally, and they were very fragile, and they break down many times. They broke down many times. This was a training center, but we had some difficulties also to motivate trainees to come, because it's very difficult to travel through this city. In fact, there were a lot of women coming from far, but they were discouraged sometimes to come. And we had also some problems of engagement of the municipality itself. At the beginning, they offer the land, and the space, but this land was not secured for the private company. They had no contract, you know, and as it was said before, on innovation, you need also to have a vision, to have time, to know what you can do in 2 or 10 years time. Also, we were in front of problems with clients, the farmers that are far from the farm, so transport was a problem. And in fact, it was theoretically a low-cost solution, but in fact, we had to put quite a lot of money in the system, and the maintenance was quite expensive also. So the decision we had to take, and this is what also we discussed at UN Global Pulse, where in the future, we have to go for more low-tech solutions, less expensive solutions. And we have to involve farmers more than before. So we thought about a decentralized model I will present later. And we need also to think not only about this question of waste that will be transformed, but also at services that can be given by these solutions to the municipality, ecosystem services, to motivate the municipality into this engagement, you know. So the rationality for scaling up, this is really really what UN Global Pulse gave us a lot of input. First, we worked before on a study to know the cost effectiveness of the project, and it was good, but on paper, we had also to discuss a lot with the ecosystem. This is what was proposed also by UN Global Pulse. Do you know really if your ecosystem globally is good for you? And so you have to discuss this technology, of course, is good because it's known by the government, but you need more political support, more technical support, more NGO support, in fact. And we discovered also that an NGO was on the field close to the place called Communauté Abel. It's an Italian NGO. And now they are ready to offer us a large space that is really secured for the future. We discussed also with a new municipality that is ready to take, you know, these ecosystem services for the urban resilience. You know, in this city, you have a lot of flooding. So if you don't want flooding, you have to keep green spaces alive. And that's very important. And we have also the ambition to, in 10 years' time or in 5 years' time, to expand as FAO in the whole country, they expand this technology. So we discovered and we work with new partners, so researchers. Now there's a new Prime Minister cell on circular economy ready to work with us. And we have also discovered also a new, the local farmers, mainly women cooperatives that are ready also to work on this new model, and investors. Even if it's low tech, you have to take into consideration that people need also to put some money in the future. So we have private partners, an Italian climate fund, and FAO is also giving some money for that. So this is the new model we discussed with you on Global Pulse. The farmers will be at the heart. They will be trained, of course, but they will be the producer themselves of the, they will be the converter of the waste into products for the farms. So how will it work? We have a central farm, and we have already, with the UN Global Pulse money, constructed the central farm. But with that, we propose to produce the eggs of this fly, of this black soldier fly, and give the eggs directly to decentralized farms at the different spaces. you know. And the farmers themselves, they make the feed for their chicken, mainly for their chicken, and they produce the frass, the biostimulant, biofertilizer that can be useful for their land, and also they can sell the surplus to their colleagues, farmers. So this is a way of transforming a lot of waste as before, but in another manner, more efficient and more cost effective. So some photos of the farm that is already existing now. You see, it's very simple. Now we have small machines, mainly bought on the Chinese machines that are grinders, small grinders and dryers. It's perhaps 5 times less expensive. And we are ready to expand. So this is now 2 months we have started the UN Global Pulse project. And what was really, I want to make a testimony of this big impulsion from Global Pulse. What they help us to do is, during this week, this workshop in Helsinki, is to rethink completely our business model and to refine it. They help us to discover, with methods, with tools, these ecosystems of partners, which is very important, and to rebuild our model. They offered also the possibility, or they proposed us to make a model that is more flexible. So, for example, if something is not working in this farm, we can go to another very quickly. This is very flexible solution. Moreover, we were inspired by this visit in Helsinki, visit of the University of Espoo, the support of a company called Demos, that is very good in terms of startup promotion, and we had, and this was part of the proposal, some very strong moments. For example, we spent a night of preparation of our speech and the pitch also. So this accelerator of UN Global Pulse gave us a lot of methodology and tools, but it took, some very good steps in order for us to have something very logical in mind. It was a good occasion also to be in competition with other UN teams, and that was very nice to exchange. And there was also because we have a meeting every month with them now, and we have good sessions, and especially a special session with Miro, this tool, to refine our model. So our model is still evolving, I would say. So this is our ecosystem. This is the team, especially local people, Bru and Arthur, that are and Fatoumata, Fatoumatu, who are in Abidjan. And from our side, we are also learning every month where we are in contact with them. And Isabel went on the field also and saw that it's going well. The idea is not to limit the project in Abidjan, but now to go with the Prime Minister's cell to all the country. But first, we have to achieve this first step of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hervé. Sounds like you had very good insights from the accelerator workshop.
Yeah.
And as Hervé said, the grant recipients actually also get tailored mentoring if they are chosen as these grant recipients after the workshops. And please, if you have any questions about the BioDAF project or something that Pat said earlier, please ask them through the Q&A box. And we'll first hear from Alice before going into the Q&A section. So next we have a very different kind of innovation from WFP. Go ahead, Alice.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much. And very nice to meet you all. So my name is Alice. I'm part of the World Food Programme Innovation Accelerator based in Munich, part of a team called Innovative Finance, trying to attract new type of fundings through innovative finance mechanism towards WFP operations. And part of this team, I'm working with two of my colleagues on this project called SheCan, aiming to support the financial inclusion of smallholder farmers, specifically women, through innovative finance mechanism. Next slide, please. So SheCan, it's a project that was born in June 2022 inside the accelerator of the World Food Programme in Munich, and aiming to use blended finance mechanism and a multi-dimensional approach to have like innovative processes to be able to link different stakeholders of the financial inclusion ecosystem to promote the economic empowerment and the access to formal financial services of smallholder farmers in the different locations where WFP is. Maybe something good to mention at the beginning is that the project aims to build on current WFP operations to target beneficiaries that are already part of WFP operations, and when where a need for additional capital was seen by the local team, and that's where we try to bring the project exactly at this point. Next slide, please. So the main challenge that the solution is trying to solve is the financial exclusion and the lack of access of formal financial services from part of populations, specifically rural populations, and specifically women part of those rural populations. Several reasons can explain this financial exclusion. Usually, the main challenges that we see is that those populations are in remote locations where there are no branches for banks, and they struggle to access those branches to be able to take a loan, to take a microcredit. Also, those rural populations usually have no credit history, are considered as very risky types of borrowers from the financial institutions due to this lack of credit history and this vicious circle of financial exclusion, but also due to a lack of literacy that the financial institutions are perceiving, a lack of trust from the population in the formal financial services, and a lack of any type of collateral, specifically for women, to be able to contract a microloans. On the other side, we see from the financial institutions themselves some insufficiency in the products that they offer to this type of populations that are usually not tailored to the needs of those populations that have resource of revenues that varies during the year due to agricultural revenues, of course. So all of this makes the virtuous circle of financial exclusion, where there's no product financially viable from the financial institutions to see them as potential clients. And on the other hand, the beneficiaries cannot access due to several operational and cultural challenges. Next slide, please. So as I was mentioning, to tackle this multidimensional challenge of financial exclusion, the program SheCan tried to take innovative processes to work with the different stakeholders and try to solve all of those mentioned challenges. So first, we work directly with the beneficiaries that are part of WFP programs, usually resilience program of WFP, and we work directly with them with tailored gender-sensitive financial literacy to ensure that we can increase the trust that they have in the formal financial services, understand the needs that they would have in terms of access to finance, what type of loans do they want, when do they want them, how much are they willing to pay, etc., and use the knowledge of WFP and their field presence to really identify those needs. Then we work with the financial service providers, so usually microfinance institutions. We work directly with them to create tailored financial products thanks to the information that we gathered directly from the populations. And we bring technical assistance to those financial service providers. Also, we link them to impact investors, development finance institutions, crowdlending platforms, so that those financial service providers, those microfinance institutions, can access to cheaper capital themselves that can be transcribed in better loan conditions to the target populations. So by accessing, and thanks to the network of WFP and innovative finance mechanisms such as crowdlending, impact outcome finance, etc., those financial service providers access cheaper capital, and thanks to better capital they access, they can also provide better loan conditions combined to the technical assistance that they receive to create tailored loan products. We also work with the financial service provider with the grant component. So basically they access private capital normally, but we also work with a grant component to cover the operational expenses of targeting those populations. To identify with them directly, why do you not address smallholder farmers? Is this because lack of branches? So we can support by subsidizing the setup of new branches directly in the locations where the populations are? Is this the lack of digitization of processes that makes it very costly to address those populations? If it's the case, we support them, connecting them with digital partners to digitize their process to make them more cost efficient to address those populations. Finally, we work also with governments trying to ensure that the needs of those beneficiaries and those challenges that were identified can be reflected into the national financial inclusion strategy of those governments and ensure the sustainability of the program. So that's a bit all the multi-dimensional approach that we're taking, trying to adapt, of course, all the time to the local context, thanks to the team of the WFP, and also be able to adapt the model to different model of WFP. As mentioned, we complement other programs. So depending on those specific needs from all the stakeholders that are inside of this ecosystem, we try to really tackle individually those challenges to ensure we can create a sustainable ecosystem for increased financial inclusion for the beneficiaries that we work with. Next slide, please. Sorry, I think that was the last version of the slides. Maybe if we can go to the maps, because this I already mentioned and described in the previous slides. Yeah, to the maps, I think it's the next slide. Yes, here, so you can see a bit how the process I was mentioning is working more towards flow of funds. So the World Food Program works with cooperating partner and directly with microfinance institutions with technical assistance, digitization, capacity building, technical support, and with the beneficiaries as well, whether they're from farmer saving groups, small MSMEs, or individual micro entrepreneurs as well. We work with them with capacity building, trying to identify the gaps in terms of knowledge and fill them, whether it's in business management, gender, financial literacy, etc. Then we work directly with the microfinance institutions so that they can access to a more affordable capital from the different sources that you can see mentioned: crowdlending platforms, development financial institutions, philanthropic impacts, supporting them to access capital that can be transcribed into the loan conditions that are provided to the different beneficiaries. As mentioned, we also cover, thanks to a blended finance approach, some of the operational expenses of the microfinance institutions to specifically target those populations that is combined with the private capital that the MFI can access. And this blended finance approach really ensure that the loan conditions can be optimal for the farmers. Always mentioning that the objective is really to create a market-based approach as well. The goal for us on the long term is really for the microfinance institutions to see those populations as future clients that is profitable for them to address as well. So really try to fill the gaps that to access those first clients, and for the farmers to access for the first time to loans, to then create a sustainable environment where they can be seen as clients. Next slide, please. Here you can see a bit where we're standing at the moment in terms of geographical footprint, so present in the different continents and supporting different country offices of WFP throughout different steps of their journey. So the project started first in June 2022 with 3 pilots, very small pilots in Peru, Zambia, and Rwanda, demonstrated the scalability of the model and how they can complement different contexts and operations. And then we progressively scaled inside those countries and I'll come back to this after on the lessons learned towards new locations, and now we're designing new projects as well. The rhythm that we're having is usually 2 country offices per year, plus really focusing on scaling the operations within one country. The goal is really to be needs-based from the country offices. So usually they really see from their current operations from a part of the populations that they work with a lack of capital, for instance, for homegrown school feeding. So it's where WFP supports schools to buy meals from the local farmers. For instance, they see a lack of capital from the farmers to pre-finance the school meals, and then they come to us to implement this approach. Next slide, please. So here is a bit the results that we're having at the moment. I'll be fast on that. At the moment, we directly reached out to 25,000 smallholder farmers and micro entrepreneurs with direct access to microloans. As mentioned, the objective is to have a strong gender approach in this project because women are usually the one facing the most cultural barrier in accessing finance, but the goal is to have a community approach. So not targeting 100% of women, but really targeting community as a whole. But we have 72% of loan recipients that are women because they're the one mainly affected by this financial exclusion. Something maybe worthy to mention, and it's to demonstrate the success of the approach, is that we only have 0.1 default rate among all the loans mentioned, because as mentioned, we try to really increase the skills of the farmers before they contract a loan to make sure that they are ready when they receive the loans. Then work directly with the microfinance institutions to ensure that the loans they have is tailored to the needs and is not like exceeding, for instance, in terms of amount or in terms of interest rate, in terms of fees, what the farmers can pay. And also, as mentioned, those farmers are actually part of other resilience programs that support them in being able to be more resilient and be more mature, let's say, to take loans. We also managed to attract private capital, and that is also the goal of the program, is to really blend it and hand over the solution to the private sector, catalyzing more than $800,000 US in microcredits from private capital directly on-lended to the populations. Next slide, please. Maybe now to go a bit more into the scale-up, something that we really learned from the UN Pulse Accelerator is that there's different definition of scaling, and defining your own objective of scaling should really be done from the get-go and from the very pilot stage, defining for your own project what would be a success scale-up. And for us, for instance, after spending some days in reflecting in that and the different leads that you can follow for your scale-up strategy, we noticed that what we would really consider as a success is not expanding to all the countries where WFP is and having something like with huge number that we could demonstrate, is really to ensure that when we go into a new locations, we're aiming to exit it, let's say, in a few years. So aiming to hand over fully the solution and build in a few years, like, oh, those people are actually clients from the private sector and they don't need WFP or any public intervention anymore. So we designed the project into different phases. The first phase is usually a first pilot when we enter a location, where the grant part is actually quite important at the moment to the microfinance institutions, where we really subsidize operations so that they can set up branches, hire new people, rent, buy motorbikes to ensure that they can go directly to the rural populations to get the loans. So there's a strong grant component and subsidy component at the beginning. Then we want to demonstrate that those people, thanks to the support they receive, also like tailored support to ensure they're ready to take loans, that they can that the default rate is actually low. They have now credit history, they have a bank account, so they can be considered as clients. The financial products that we support the microfinance institution to create can sustain because it answers to the needs of a specific part of the population that was not addressed by those people. So we work during the first years of the pilot into this. Then we do a scale up, and we're doing it now in the 3 initial countries, Peru, Rwanda, and Zambia. Basically, we decrease the grant component gap. There's still one, but we ask for an increasing match from the own capital of the microfinance institutions so that they really see the value of the project. So we still subsidize a part of the population, but the match decrease from the subsidy given by WFP to the private capital committed. We also, during those phases, try to connect the microfinance institution to own source of capital, so that, for instance, we connect them with crowd lending platforms such as Kiva, Lender Hand, where individuals can provide loans as well, so that they are linked to a source of capital that they don't need WFP anymore to get funding. So that's really, and then for the exit, it's really to have them considered as clients and hopefully in a few years be able to take a different types of products, different types of loans that is more, that is higher amounts, and they can be considered as full long-term clients from the financial sector. We also work directly with the governments to ensure that, for instance, the financial literacy part can be also fully handed to the government. So trying to like include those needs of those beneficiaries directly in the national financial inclusion of the governments. Because they also see the value of having the private sector fully involved from the get-go into this kind of project. So that's really like one of the main lessons learned from the journey that we did with UN Pulse, is really to understand like what is key factor of success of a scale-up for us. And it's more like spending a lot of time in each country, even though we may target less people at the beginning, but really to ensure the sustainability of the solutions that we create, especially in those challenging funding time, to ensure that even if WFP exits, the project can sustain and those people can still remain financially included. Next slide, please. And then also another learning is that accepting what you want to keep as core in your team in terms of the different activities and what you think should be externalized. So basically, as we found out that one of the main limitations of our scaling strategy is that we're still working from the accelerator point of view, like based in Munich, etc., and not part of HQ core programming. So we spent quite an extensive amount of time in the last weeks, months after UN Pulse to really connect to the other WFP programs. First, ensuring knowledge sharing. I think like, and all the UN people here could testify that a lot of agencies are doing kind of similar things and not sharing enough resources. And even among your own agencies, sometimes it's tough to like not duplicate resources. So really trying to connect and be more efficient. Yes, try to really like be fully integrated as part of the overall inclusive finance activities of WFP, whether it's cash-based transfer, access to insurance, etc. So it's really also one of the lessons learned, and sometimes that's a lot of time that we've been spending on since the UN Pulse acceleration program, where we really deepen those objectives as part of our scale-up strategy, is really to also ensure sustainability among the organization and within other organizations, so that even if the 3 team members that are currently working on the project have to leave or etc., the knowledge is not lost, and the program can keep continuing with new people coming and being fully integrated in other activities. Also, as I was mentioning, is really trying to understand what you want to keep as core. And for us, we understood that other UN agencies might have other expertise that WFP do not, especially when it comes to like digitization, for instance, of the farmers cooperatives or of the operations of the MFI. And we try to really work more with other UN agencies when we arrive in a new geographies, ensuring that we can share resources and we don't duplicate doing similar programs, all of us from a different angle and perspective without collaborating that much. So I think it's also one of the main lessons learned that we learn. And maybe to close and to wrap up, yeah, really grateful of having this opportunity to do this UN Pulse acceleration program. I think also an advice I would give to every person that aims to scale is taking time outside of business to business activities and 5 days just to think about scaling, whether it's within the UN Pulse accelerator, which was amazing because they give you the tool and the different perspective. But even though if it's not through the UN Pulse accelerator, like really taking the time to go deep into the scale up objectives and what you really want outside of the business to business, not being interrupted by like daily operations, which is so easy to fall into, is so important to ensure that we follow the same objectives. We have a scale-up strategy. We know where we're going. And for this, I think for us, it was amazing to be outside of our current location with the team member, outside of like all the management day-to-day requests, because they knew we were like there to be focused on. That was actually a wonderful experience. And also, as Hervé mentioned, like being with other teams that are doing completely different things, being inspired by them, understanding that a lot of us have the same challenges from different perspectives, even though the activities are so different. And hearing some external point of view is also always super rewarding and super challenging. So yeah, overall, very good experience. Happy to answer any question. And thanks again for the UN Pulse team for providing us with valuable tools that we're still using and that are very useful for scale-up.
Thank you, Alice. That really is one of the feedback that we have gotten from the accelerator, is that a lot of the teams appreciate that they just have time to sit down and actually think of how to go forward with their innovation. Now we're running a little bit out of time, but we do have a few questions. Perhaps, Pat, you would like to answer the first one. Can the scaling project be implemented in the same area as the pilot, or do we have to select a new area?
Thank you to anyone who's asked that question. I think I would say it's a bit of a yes and no. Like Elise had said, scaling really is about what's relatable to your work. So, and what it means for your work to reach impact. So if it's within the same area, it definitely is considered scaling as well. And also if it means creating more impact is bringing it to another new context or more areas, that is also scaling. So I think there's no hard answer to this. So I'm sorry if it sounds very theoretical, but it really is relatable to your work itself of what that means.
Thanks, Pat. Then we have a question that I'd like to ask both of Hervé and Alice. How are you planning to measure and gather evidence of the success of your innovation beyond the pilot phase, and what key indicators will help you know if it's creating the change you hoped for? This is quite the question. I'm wondering if you have a quick answer for this.
In the project, in fact, for this phase 2 with UN Global Pulse, we include a study done by an external consultant. So we will measure the progress of the project for sure. So for us, the indicators, they are, how farmers are able to manage this new technology locally. What is their production? So it's figures. We are going to measure the quantity of frass they are producing, how are their chicken, look at their plants, etc. So this will be very, very concrete. But I want to answer also, there's two questions. One of a colleague from Afghanistan, I think, no, not from Afghanistan, but Milomir, who wants to know if the civil servants from the project or officials, government officials were reluctant or not to work on this project. And I want to say on the first phase, it was very good. They were very involved because of they were in fact in charge of the project, of part of the funds. But there was a change, political change, and we had some difficulties to involve them because of the political blockages. And that's why they never want to sign a contract with the private company. And that was a problem. And that's something we took as a lesson. And then in the new phase with UN Global Pulse, we are more secured with this Italian NGO with really a contract. So that's a good question, and that's part of the reflection when you prepare a project, the involvement of government officials. And if I can, there are two questions also, because I said that the private company wants to move to, I did not say to all the countries, but to the whole country of Ivory Coast, but they have also the ambition to work in neighboring countries like Niger, Burkina Faso. So I can put you in contact with the company, because it's quite an easy technology that you can develop yourself also in Niger, in Uganda, I see, in Afghanistan. It's not a problem now. We have guidance material we can share, and we can also put you in contact with this company that can offer at least the basis for starting these jobs.
Thank you, Hervé. Unfortunately, I think we're running out of time. Perhaps Hervé and Alice, you could put your emails into the chat if anyone has any follow-up questions for you, and you can continue talking through this through email. I think that's it for our webinar today. We're coming to the end, but before you go, please, we would like you to answer a very quick feedback poll. Perhaps my colleague Timon, yes, now you should get a few questions on your screen. And after you have answered the feedback poll, please feel free to hop off and see you next time. Thank you for Pat, thank you for Alice, thank you for Hervé for being great speakers today. And don't forget to apply to the accelerator program if you have a piloted innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I have to go also. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Good, good. Well done. It went well.
So we have 58 people have like 58% have responded to the poll. So should we still keep it on or give more time for people to respond? Mira?
You can close the webinar, I think. Thank you, everyone. We're closing the webinar now.
Thank you.